How many of you understand the concept of Hegelian dialectic of manipulation of political resolutions? If you don't, you'd better read Hegel and you'd better study it, because that's what's happening. It's the truth. The whole issue is designed to create a conflict which cannot be solved except by some world body. What do you think the ozone holes are about? How many of you understand the ozone holes? How many of you don't? Okay, it's about time somebody explained it to you. Because this is one of the biggest cons going. And what's it designed to do? Create a conflict between people who need to pollute the atmosphere and people who don't want it polluted, to prevent the depletion of the ozone layer, so that we're all not fried by the sun's rays coming from the great Apollo up there riding across the sky in his chariot. Okay, here's the problem with the ozone hole thing. How many of you have noticed that every time they show a picture of an ozone hole, it's always over or near one of the poles? How many of you have noticed that? Every time. Because it has to be. It's the only place it occurs, and it's not really a hole at all. And it has nothing to do with what we do, it has nothing to do with CFCs or anything else that we do here on this earth, period. Because here's the truth of it. How many of you have also noticed that whenever that hole occurs, it occurs at that particular pole in the wintertime? Why is that? Well, the earth is tilted on its axis. So if this is the North Pole up here, we have the earth right here, and we have old Sol over here giving out his rays. What has to happen to form ozone, folks? Sunlight must interact with gases in the atmosphere. Which gas? Oxygen. When sunlight strikes oxygen in the atmosphere, it causes a chemical reaction which splits O2 into two single O's. So O2 becomes, what is that? Ozone. Ozone. Each one of these is ozone. But what is it also? It's what's called a free radical. It doesn't like to be in that position. It doesn't like to be unattached. Okay? Some like people I know. Can't be without a mate for 10 seconds. And so they always choose the wrong one, which ensures that they're going to break up and they can't be without a mate for 10 seconds. Believe it or not, most of us go through that little period. We think we have to be with somebody all the time. Not true. Okay. These, because they're free radicals, they don't like that state of being, don't last very long. As soon as they find something to latch onto that they can oxidize, they will. Or as soon as they can find another free radical of oxygen, they will form once again O2. Or if they can find another radical of oxygen and an atom of hydrogen, they will form water. They don't like being apart. So ozone doesn't exist very long after it's created anyway. It's in a constant state of creation and attaching itself to something else and disappearing. So ozone is in a constant state of flux, becoming and unbecoming all the time. And it's caused by the sun rays interacting with oxygen in the atmosphere. What do we call that layer? There is no such thing as an ozone layer. What is it called? Because what are these? These are ions. Ozone is an ion of oxygen. Okay? It's called the ionosphere. So why don't these freako-environmentalist liars call it what it is, the ionosphere? Because it would be the truth, and we can all prove that the ionosphere is not disappearing. It's where ionization of gases takes place due to interaction with the sun's rays, energy from the sun. Everybody understand that? So instead they say, there's an ozone layer. Oh, really? Can you taste it? Can you touch it? Can you feel it? It's the ionosphere. And this whole thing is a hoax. Because here's what happens. As sun streams toward the Earth, you can see down here at the South Pole where they're having summer, sun's rays are hitting all over the pole, aren't they? But up here, they're not hitting a portion of the pole. At the pole that is experiencing winter, what do they have there that's unusual about the rest of the Earth? They have 6 months of darkness. There's 6 months when the sun's rays are not hitting that part of the Earth or the Earth's atmosphere. And so there is no interaction between the sun's rays and the oxygen in the atmosphere, and so what is absent? Ozone. Is it a depletion of ozone? No, it's just a place where the chemical reaction does not take place. It is absolutely perfectly normal. And when the Earth moves around to the other side of the sun, and the southern hemisphere is then experiencing winter because the sun is then over here, the whole jumps magically from the North Pole to the South Pole. And all of the CFCs that we are leaking and using on the face of this Earth have magically migrated to one spot over the pole where nobody's leaking anything and depletes all the ozone right there. You see, if this was really true, where would the holes be? Los Angeles, London, Tokyo, there's a biggie. Phoenix, right? Do you know that the state of Arizona is the only state in the whole 50 United States that knows this and has passed a law saying, screw you, we know there's no ozone holes, we'll use CFCs all we want, and we do. We educated our legislators, not to the fact that if that this was a hoax. We did that, of course. But even though they knew it was a hoax, they didn't want to go along with it until we put pressure on them saying, hey, we're not going to support this scam, period. This is a scam and you know it is. We put political pressure on them that they were going to lose their jobs unless they did what we wanted them to do. And so they did. Now, we don't always get our way in Arizona.